We started the company back in 2017. Myself and Yoav Shoam, who was a professor at Stanford for many years, and came back to Israel after spending like 28 years in the Bay Area. And our third co-founder, Amnon Shashua, who I think needs no introduction.
Do you buy into any of the fear in AI?
I think there are some areas where we need to take very seriously, like malicious actors. I think there is the level of, for example, cybersecurity attacks, UAE and the Saudis, and that are currently investing huge amounts in infrastructure, but they don't have the talent. Create more research groups. Make sure that the leading researchers that we have that are now doing postdocs in, MIT or Stanford, they come back.
Welcome to another episode of IsraelTech. I'm really excited to have a great guest here, Ori Goshen, the co-founder and co-CEO of AI21 Labs. But before we get into him and all the amazing things happen within AI in Israel, let me tell you about IsraelTech. What we're doing here, we're democratizing and decentralizing the IsraelTech ecosystem by bringing it here to you on your 10 favorite social media platforms. We're leading new media and bringing tech to the world. So please make sure you like and follow and subscribe and share with your friends and give a 5-star review so we can continue to make a positive impact to promote Israel's tech ecosystem. Ori, so we're filming at Google, and you have your own studio in your office, and we were originally going to film there, but you got hit by an Iranian missile. So we're at Google filming instead. Why don't you talk us? Well, let's start there. What exactly happened?
Yeah, a correction. So a residential building right next to our office was hit by a missile during the war, obviously, and there was some, damage that needed to be fixed. So we're thankfully are getting back to the office soon, but we've took some temporary space for a few weeks now, and thankfully nobody, no harm done in terms of the people themselves, and everybody's safe.
Well, thank God for that.
But the really funny thing is during the war, the IRGC, the Mishmarot HaMapecha spokesman, posted a message saying that they've hit strategic facilities in Israel, including Israel's AI company, AI21.
No way.
So,
that's the best PR you can ever have. That might be worth more than you being here on my show.
that's I told my CMO, then that's
Did you lead
job.
with that? Did you put that on like the banner on the top of your socials or something?
No,
I feel like that's like the badge of honor, no?
Yeah, we have other things to brag on, but
we'll get to those too.
Yeah.
How did you find out about the news? Like that your office was, I was going to say injured, but buildings aren't injured.
Yeah, I mean, we heard the news, and our security officer actually shared videos with us when right after the attack happened, and so we can see that there was some damage and everything. So we got it. It was pretty real time.
Wow. And what time was that?
It was actually the first attack on, I think it was Friday night, but everybody was in the shelter at their homes, and we were notified and knew immediately that something happened.
Damn.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then you're like, okay, where are we going, I guess? And
yeah, I mean, like, it's still many questions, like what kind of damage, what happened, when there were so many question marks at that time. But after a few days, we went to the site. We've seen that actually there wasn't too much damage, but there's always bureaucracies, and there's a lot of safety measures before you get back to the office. So thankfully we've done all of that.
Yeah, well, ideally, the safety measures would include not letting us get to this situation in the first place.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about a co-CEO, right? Co-founder and co-CEO. I want to hear how you founded the company, of course, but and why, and where your expertise came from. We'll probably talk about what you did in the Army, but I definitely want to hear about co-CEO. What's that like?
Yeah, it takes a really special couple.
I was going to say, right? One marriage was enough.
Yeah, I mean, you need to adjust yourself to work that way. I would say my partner, Yoav Shoam, I'll speak about how we started the company and why and so forth. But the really cool thing is that we think alike, and we, in some sense, can predict what the other one thinks. And, as the years went by, because we started the company about 7 years ago, so we spent some good time together. We really, when we have this game where we need to make an important decision, we say, I know what you're about to say, and we're typically right.
Before we continue, let me tell you about our partner, Deal. As you know, I'm an entrepreneur. One of the hardest parts of being an entrepreneur is hiring the talent that you need, onboarding them, getting them the equipment that they need, and getting them paid. It's annoying. Compliance is difficult, and there's a lot of different laws in different markets. And most HR platforms, they're difficult to use. Deal is different. It's perfect for founders and startups like me, and grows with you as you scale. Imagine HR, IT, and payroll, all in one place, easy to use, and AI native. They take care of compliance, so you can focus on your business. And you'll like using it. Go ahead and see for yourself. Visit our partner at deal.com/IsraelTech. That's DEEL.com/IsraelTech. And now, back to the show.
I think it really takes special type of couple. I don't think it can work. I mean, it needs to be very compatible, but it works. And in some sense, it diffuses the challenge that a lot of CEOs are speaking about, the feeling lonely. There is still some loneliness involved, but at least you can share it with someone. And the other challenge is making, fast decisions. So if you're one person, it's easier because, you need to make decisions, but co-CEOs, they need to make the important decisions together. We had this rule when we started that we won't let any decisions to be held. Like whenever we see something that needs to be decided upon, we'll sit together, we make sure we resolve it as soon as possible. And so far, I think it worked really well. We started the company back in 2017, myself and Yoav Shoam, who was a professor at Stanford for many years, and came back to Israel after spending like 28 years in the Bay Area. And our third co-founder, Amnon Shashua, who I think needs no introduction. So we started this company with the mission of taking AI to its next phase. That's the name AI21, AI for the 21st century. And in many ways, the reason why we started the company is more relevant to today than it was when we started.
That's what I thought, because 2017, what did you go out to solve?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it doesn't even look like what it does today.
Exactly. In principle, it goes... What we're doing today goes back to our roots. And it's a very deeply technological idea or even philosophy that we had back then, and the reason why we started the company. The thesis behind the company was deep learning, kind of modern day deep learning is great, and it's going to be more and more powerful. But it's necessary but not sufficient if you truly want to get to reliable AI systems, meaning systems you can actually trust. And intuitively speaking, what happens with these deep learning systems now, in the form of large language models, is these are probabilistic, and not every problem in the world lends itself to probabilistic reasoning, so to speak. So think about the simplest example, like arithmetics, 2 plus 2. You as a person, you don't need to see millions of examples and try to fit a pattern to know how much 2 plus 2. You have a discrete algorithm that almost like a calculator that how to decompose this problem and solve it, like 2 plus 2 equals 4. But now in the age of, deep learning or large language models, everything is shoved into these probabilistic models. They, for some problems, they are like 99.999% right. But for such a simple problem, you don't want 99% accuracy, you want 100% accuracy, right? Because it can be solved in 100%. That's a deterministic approach. And so the idea behind the company was, there are going to be a lot of progress on the probabilistic side, but it also needs to be complemented with a deterministic approach, which you can rely on 100%. And some call it in a kind of, from scientific terms, it's called neurosymbolic AI, and that's a still evolving field. And we've taken the mission of being leaders in this space of hardening the technology and make it reliable, and specifically reliable for enterprises, for businesses.
Do you think, you talk about machine learning within AI, but now where AI is going is that AI is training on itself and it doesn't need new inputs. What are your thoughts? Do you think that it will be even better than what we can currently do? Because obviously we could assume probably more mistakes, also more opportunities. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's, these techniques that are being applied today with synthetic data. I mean, basically training a model, the model is still trained on data, on natural occurring data. Some of it is curated and collected and refined and so forth. Now you're using the model itself to refine more and more data and create more and more data and then continue that iteration. The fundamentals are still the same. The model is predicting the next token or is predicting a series of tokens. And in that sense, not every problem can be kind of shoved into this framework. That's why I think what we're going to see, and we're actually starting to see it, because if you think about the kind of state of the art of language models, they are trying to solve some of the problems using what people call tools. Tools are basically discrete algorithms. They're deterministic. You're starting to seeing this blend between a probabilistic machine that can actually utilize deterministic algorithms or functions and so forth. That blend is actually happening as we speak.
Are you more optimistic? Do you buy into any of the fear in AI?
I think there are some areas where we need to take very seriously, like malicious actors. I think there is the level of, for example, cybersecurity attacks or massive influence through content generation that looks authentic. These are real issues. I don't buy the machines will take over and control humanity, or I can explain why I don't think we are going to have like a doomsday. Nobody's going to have a job and no purpose in life.
Please tell the internet why they're wrong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this doesn't sell as many clicks than the doomsday. The fear porn from AI.
Yeah, but a malicious I think AI could be exploited maliciously, and that doomsday discussion is overshadowing the important parts of what people. Ever since it's like historical, like technology can be used for
it's a tool. Good or bad. Yeah.
It's exactly. It's a tool. It's a very powerful tool. Now, I think the discussion should focus on how can we prevent, or what measures we have to prevent the bad actors from doing some really bad things. I mean, look, just to give you an example, there was just a week or a couple of weeks ago, there's a contest around penetration testing, and the number one pen tester on the leaderboard is currently an AI agent. So you see where this is heading, right?
So they're out of a job, the pen testers.
No, I mean, the penetrators are going to use agents.
Oh, right.
To actually penetrate. Right. And
I know enterprises hire pen testers to see where their vulnerabilities are.
Yeah.
They'll just use the AI instead of the individuals. That's what I'm talking about.
So that's the kind of antivirus, right? The enterprises will use these agentic pen testers to find vulnerabilities, but the attackers would use the same tools to attack.
It's the cat and mouse. So maybe it's the bad actors and good actors are going to have some layoffs with technology. It's funny how that goes. Where are you most optimistic when it comes to AI?
I think it's going to be a new era. People speak about super intelligence or general intelligence. I find these terms ill-defined. I'm actually mostly excited about a new era that we call super productivity, which means that the gap between ideation and execution of those ideas is shrinking to almost zero. And I think we're heading there. I think in the context of businesses and enterprises, not like individual use, but enterprises, there still needs to be taking some steps to make these systems more consistent and reliable, more robust in the sense. But once we get there, AI will be deeply embedded inside the organizations. Means almost every decisions will be augmented by AI.
Walk us through some examples that are relatable to people, because I think a lot of people hear every AI is going to be used in everything.
Right.
It's going to help you through decisions. It's going to be your assistant. It's going to be the best tool. And we're help our viewers understand in practice what that is, because everyone's been hearing this, but I don't think people really understand what's coming.
So I'll try to draw a spectrum. I think one end of the spectrum that people have in mind is we have these agentic employees that we can just delegate tasks for. The technology is far from that part. I don't know if it will take 3 years to get there or 5 years to get there or maybe even further, but we're not there yet.
Right.
Okay, just to calibrate. I think the other end of the spectrum is what we have today, where a lot of these systems are passive in a sense. You prompt them with pretty tactical tasks, refine this or write this email for me, or this is pretty tactical, and this is kind of what's happening right now. I think where we're heading is a world where a lot of the decisions, these agent systems, have a very rich context about the enterprise and can help you, like a manager or any knowledge worker, basically, to make very informed decisions by almost like simulating scenarios, right? When you make a decision, you think about the kind of expected outcome, what would happen, and if then, and so on and so forth. Now, if you have a reliable agentic system that is plugged in and adaptive to your environment, it can actually help you usefully simulate a lot of different scenarios. You can make a good decision.
Give an example. I mean, you're serving enterprises.
You want to promote someone from your team,
right?
That's, I think, what are the consequences? What would the things that So I think some of these systems will actually help you realize, kind of create better recall, so to speak, and realize things that you're not necessarily aware of, and by that improve the quality of the decisions.
So if an enterprise is, let's say, working with AI21 Labs, which they should be, in to help them who they know they should promote, what would you tell to the employee how they can manipulate the AI within the enterprise to make them more attractive for them to be promoted? You got any tips for them?
I won't.
You won't, you said?
I won't give you the
Okay, fine. Sorry, guys. It was worth a try. Maybe we'll get some other gold out of it. You were saying earlier about cybersecurity, right? Which is a big component of having to deal with AI. You spent over 4 years in the Army leading a cybersecurity group. What is the Army? First off, what did you do there exactly? Did that prepare you for what you're doing now? Because one's cyber, one's AI. Maybe you can kind of like walk us through and trying to get a vibe for how AI is being used and developed and training people within the Army.
Yeah, I mean, cybersecurity, that's kind of one of the first steps in my career. And I'm a technical person. I'm coming from software engineering background, and that's what I've done in the Army. I really liked kind of leading groups. And that was a good challenge for myself in a very young age to lead groups of people that are way smarter than me.
Do they know that?
Oh, yeah. I keep telling them.
But they don't listen to you.
They do, but they understand. I think, by the way, speaking of intelligence have very different aspects.
Yes.
So I really liked really deep technical challenges, and I really like work with smart people. And I obviously cannot talk about the specifics of what I've done in the military, but I can say that mentally, it prepared me for the types of challenges that we're facing today. For example, I remember this, and I was a very young, very, very young soldier, like less than a year in the Army, and there was a project that needs to be done, and they estimated that project will take like several teams and multiple years to implement. They said like 2 years to implement. Then came the commander-in-chief and said, I want this in 2 weeks. I didn't know much about it. I was pretty ignorant. I had no clue. And then there was some pretty talented officer that joined along with myself, who happens to be our CTO today, by the way.
That's cool.
And they gave us this challenge. And in 2 weeks, we came up with this system that no one believed that can actually
within the Army.
Within the Army.
So what was the support you got? Did they assign for you to come up with the system? Like, how did... Share just like, what does the inner working look like? Was it top down? Was it, we need a solution for this? Go figure, see if you can figure something out. Who was on your team? Because you were like 18. So
yeah.
What the hell did you know? Before we continue, let me tell you about our partners, The Recruitery. The Recruitery places go-to-market talent for early and growth stage cybersecurity companies. The Recruitery specializes in recruiting and retaining top talent in global markets. If you're looking for a recruitment company to help your cybersecurity company close cultural gaps and find great talent on the ground that can help you scale, we recommend you also partnering with our partner, The Recruitery. And now, back to the show.
Yeah, so it was me, and like I don't think this is the kind of challenge you can do alone. Like actually pairs. This is actually a good lesson for the co-CEO. Some things in pairs you can. It's like 1 + 1 = 3 in a sense. Right. But I think that we've given very limited resources and very limited time. But when you have that clarity of what needs to be achieved, then you can find really creative ways to achieve it. And that was a lesson for me, like mentally, that some things that seem to be unachievable and unrealistic, they actually are if you put the focus, the effort. By the way, we haven't slept for these 2 weeks. We literally haven't gotten any sleep. So you can actually do it. You can actually achieve so much. So that's the kind of mentality that is really critical for, an AI organization today for building AI, because a lot of these things, there's a lot of uncertainty, and competing in this space, which is, one of the probably the most competitive landscapes in the world, requires that mentality as well.
Do you think a lot of people learn their work ethic from the Army?
Yeah, for sure.
Would you say Israelis have a strong work ethic?
I think so, yeah. Dedication, commitment.
Right.
A lot of, I think it's somewhat also cultural. Like, people are used to work until late and work more hours. I think it's like...
It's if you're not sleeping, which you're not doing much of, you're working. That's basically the Army, right?
Yeah, my girls are keeping me busy.
Well, there you go. Well, that's cool. I love that. Well, someone has to. That could be more stressful than the Army sometimes.
For sure.
Definitely more demanding.
Oh, yeah.
And they definitely wake you up in the middle of the night.
You have no idea.
I do. I have 2 girls. When you're learning in the Army about cyber, so how did you get from the cyber to the AI leap? That's what I want to understand. We've interviewed scores of people from 8200, from cyber units, including 8200 alumni network. So we understand what's going on with cyber in the Army, but I don't hear much about AI in the Army. And you were saying, your co-founder went to Stanford, and a lot of the AI geniuses are coming out of PhDs, out of universities. What AI is there in the Army? Do you like not just being used, but also being trained? So you think we'll see a new generation of young founders, or is it going to have to be more mature people, let's say, that already have their PhDs that might be like, 40 plus?
Right. So first of all, Yoav was teaching at Stanford. And second, I think AI is going to be everywhere. And that's the difference. I think, cybersecurity, it was very natural for cybersecurity to kind of get its roots from the Army, because that's the almost unique type of skills you're doing in a very specific environment that is pushing you, like in a context of a governmental agency. You're being pushed to the extreme, so to speak, in that particular field. And in AI, I think because it's going to be everywhere, it's going to impact the economy, it's going to impact every industry. I think that level of ambition will be everywhere, and including military applications, but it's not going to be unique for military applications. And I think that's the difference between cybersecurity and AI, the kind of fundamental difference.
Right. I mean, the word security is in cybersecurity, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
in the Army.
Exactly. But I do think, in particular, what we'll see coming out, I expect and I hope to see coming out from Israeli, security agencies, like doing more with less, which is something also we've been used to, generally speaking, but doing more with less in the AI context means like less resources in terms of compute, right? Like we can speak about that as a country where we still have some room in terms of our national investment in infrastructure, in compute infrastructure. Actually, there are some good news in the last couple of days about that, but we're still early in that, so we don't have huge amount of capacity, of compute capacity, to train new models, and that's an important constraint. But that constraint may lead to interesting innovation, but because we don't have that huge capacities, we may have to come up with the next architecture or a new idea of how to work around those constraints. So I am hopeful that kind of in a military context, and because in a military context, you always need to push yourself and find creative ways because it's existential, right? We'll see new innovations also in the AI context as well.
Oh, that's totally fascinating. So when it comes to, the end user, a lot of people, I feel like when I talk to people about AI, they feel left behind. And not because I say they'll lose their job or they're worried about that. They feel like everyone that's making money is businesses, enterprises, founders, and like, hey, it's just me, I'm a full-time employee, whatever, doing whatever it is, where do I, other than like, ChatGPT and the types, where does this kick in for me?
You mean as an individual?
Yeah.
I think actually the level of I'm speaking generally. I think for individual, this will create wealth in many ways we cannot think of today. And I'll use an analogy. Think about from your world, actually. Think about YouTubers. That wasn't a thing 20 years ago, right? And now it's a professional. People are making millions.
We're not making millions yet. We're not just YouTubers.
Well, maybe with AI.
Right. Okay. Great. So when you can help me with that, let me know.
For sure. But I'm using this analogy because it created, I don't think anyone imagined when YouTube came out and when the kind of barriers with cheap cameras and everything, no one imagined the type of content, the new types of formats that will be created, and also the new types of income that will be created by this new medium. And I think the same thing is going to happen with AI. I think people are going to just find new creative ways to leverage the technology and create wealth. So I think it's actually going to be more distributed than people imagine today. So that's on one part. On second part, I think what you're seeing in a way is actually the people who research this area are, and I don't need to kind of echo the news there with, Meta and everything, but they're compensated in a way that no one imagined before for their work. Meta, just to be clear, Meta, and the news are that Meta is offering
insane amount of money.
Insane.
I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Well, they took what's his name from SSI here, right? Who was the CEO?
Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel. Yeah. Right. And then they're poaching from everywhere.
Yeah.
I guess they got bored of the metaverse.
Yeah. Let me expand their rationale.
I get the rationale, but go ahead. Explain it. My bad.
I think, by the way, some of the news are exaggerated. Should take it with a grain of salt. Having said that, it's pretty obvious that, these almost handful amount of researchers are being compensated in an almost historical way.
How much are they making? More? They're making more than like stars and athletes.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason is, if you think about it, the capital expenses that are being spent by Meta and the other big tech are in the tens of billions, actually closer to $100 billion a year in data infrastructure, which most goes to, or a large portion of it goes to GPUs and accelerators. So when you have like a spend of $100 billion, you can conceptually think about that as a fund. Okay. And now you want
2% for the top AI talent.
Yeah. And now you want the top talent to run that fund, to make the best discoveries, to use it in the most efficient way, to get most of it. So I think logically, that's the way to justify this crazy amounts that we're seeing today.
So, I guess it's just a matter of time before there's like a poaching wars and they're like, right? This is going to happen.
Yeah. We're also seeing the other end of the spectrum, that people are true to the mission of their companies.
They say that.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. For sure.
Meanwhile, behind the table, they're seeing what the other offers are.
It's pretty radical.
Yeah. So money can buy loyalty, if I've learned anything about a lot of the fake influencers out there. AI in Israel, as an industry, as an ecosystem, where's our place globally? When I think about AI globally, all I think are two giants, the United States and China. Mm-hmm. And everyone folding in underneath, let's say, those two groups, right? Let's say the West and the communists. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to call them the East. It's an insult to the East. Where does Israel fit in? Because Israel's leading in tech, but is there space? Or are we just going to be like assisting America? So how does that fit?
Yeah, I think that there's more than meets the eye in that sense.
Yeah, go into that.
I think that, first of all, there's a lot of stars needs to align. But if things are going to head the right direction geopolitically, then you have, the UAE and the Saudis and that are currently investing huge amounts in infrastructure, but they don't have the talent or the lack of talent.
Well, the UAE can attract talent because they don't care about most 90% of their population is foreign visitors, right? Foreign
But
workers.
but even if they attract talent,
slaves.
I'm not saying it with disrespect. There's something about being connected. So you can't just take someone out of nowhere and pay him a lot of money and expect it to be. People need to be really connected to the mission.
Right.
So
Wait, to the mission being AI or to the mission nationally pushing AI forward, let's say?
I think both. And building AI for the good, building AI for national interests.
Uh-huh.
And I think there is an opportunity to see like a third player in this race, which is the Middle East. In case that, again, things will head the right direction, what you can expect is combine Israeli talent with the vast amount of infrastructure being deployed in the UAE and the Saudis and so forth. That combination could put a third player in this race, potentially. It's not going to happen tomorrow morning.
2 days? Next week?
And I don't want to sound over optimistic, but I do see a path for that. I think also...
Do the Arabs want the same thing in relation? I mean,
Yeah.
I think they just see us as if anything, a hitchhike to help them get there, as we would see them too. It's shared interests, not
shared interest.
allies or anything. Are they as interested? Are we both hungry to help each other get there? Do we both need each other? I mean, can't Israel just building the infrastructure is much easier than building the talent ecosystem? Why do we need them?
First of all...
Like in the long run,
yeah.
any problem that money can solve are the good problems, so to speak, right?
It depends on the scale of the money that you need. Where you speak about, almost the total budget of Israel being, deployed in GPUs by one of the countries I won't mention, but one of the countries in the, UAE neighborhood, just in 1 year, then you're seeing it's not economically viable. Like it's not economically feasible. We need to partner.
Right. Can we partner though with private instead, or it's not enough money? Even that's not enough. You need government. You need basically, let's be real, oil money.
Yeah, you need investments in a different scale to realize that. But that's on a national level, and I think there is a shared interest here, and I think the talent is an important factor. I think both are challenging to buy. I mean, the infrastructure is hard to buy just because you need a scale of investments that is not feasible.
Right.
And the talent is, you can buy it, but the question is, will be effective in that context? And so I think there is definitely a shared interest here.
How is there space to catch up with the United States or China? I mean, even let's say the partnership works out well, and we hear at the beginning of 2026, there's a massive $1 trillion investment between a deal, with within the Middle East between Israel and some Gulf countries, and build this thing amazing. I mean, it's so far behind. Even you hear, like, just Intel CEO, can't believe you said this out loud, they can't, AI-wise, they can't catch up to NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Right? Like, which is the dumbest thing I think you could say out loud. But, I mean, so then how would we catch up to America or China or, like, be able to play?
I think there's always room for research. You can conduct a lot of moonshots, like, from a goals perspective. And if you have the right amount of infrastructure, it also makes it feasible. So I don't think like it's game over. And remember, AI is going to continue to evolve.
Oh, right. It's fair enough, right. Sometimes we always think about today.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're always surprised, just looking at the last few months, we're always surprised how the land is shaping. Where I think people are thinking about this as land grab. But we're now in land formation.
Basically, we're capitalists, not socialists. We're not divided. It's not a zero-sum game here.
It's not a zero-sum game, and I think there's just a security, a very rooted security interest. I mean, a country or a set of countries without advanced AI will be behind. I think that's going to be a very strong driver for countries to invest in AI and so forth. So going back to your point, I don't think it's a zero-sum game. But I want to touch on the Israeli front. I think we have amazing companies here that are working on, let's say, the application layer and thinking of very creative ways of how to embed AI in their offerings, and will continue to see so. I think that's great. And historically, we've had, in other, like if you think about cloud and mobile, we have some successes there. And by the way, you always saw some, I would say, phase shift and delays. I mean, I remember when the iPhone came out back in 2007, and it took several years until they had an SDK and so forth. And then it took like a few more years until you saw a vivid mobile application ecosystem in Israel, right? And I think kind of the same happens with AI. And by the way, same in cloud. But I think it's to be really competitive in AI, it's a necessary condition, but not sufficient. I mean, yeah, we'll need to find creative ways how to capitalize AI and create new innovations and new uses of the technology. But we also need to be part of inventing this technology and driving this technology in the world. I don't think just being in the application.
100%.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the layer on top. You want to go deeper.
Exactly. Especially also when there's a lot of cannibalization between the layers. Sometimes the application layer is almost being consumed.
Yeah, there's vertical consumption.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we need to be much more in the technology. And right now, and I give a few examples, I think there are some enabling technologies for the revolution, the AI revolution. For example, I think Mellanox, part of NVIDIA, is basically what allowed this massive training at scale, like in distributed computing, because you had to have the networking, and networking was the barrier, was the main bottleneck. And and that was a brilliant move by NVIDIA to acquire Mellanox and to kind of create that offering. That's what enabled the kind of models that we're seeing right now. Mm-hmm. People don't speak about it too much, but that's, I think, a key enabler for...
Why isn't it talked about?
I don't know, maybe it's kind of less sexy, but it's basically the fundamental technology that's required for training.
You got an intro to Michael, the CTO of NVIDIA, the Mellanox CEO? You know who he is? No?
I don't know him.
Okay, no, the NVIDIA CTO is in Israel.
Yeah.
From their acquisition of
Mellanox.
So I've been trying to get him on the show.
Okay.
I'm trying to find out who in my network knows him. He's very quiet.
Yeah.
He's hard to reach, and he's up in Yokneam.
Right.
Which isn't that far from me anyway. Other than that, how do we go with that deep learning in AI, not just the application? Mm-hmm. Will that come, to bring the conversation back full circle,
right?
Will that come from the universities, or will that come from the army? Is there where do you see that? So maybe if we see some great things happen in a few years from now, they can say, oh, I heard on IsraelTech that they were talking about this, now I'm seeing it into fruition.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think, first of all, the research, like in the US, it's pretty clear. You have a lot of research being done in the institutions, and then people go into the industry. And leverage their knowledge in the industry. It's like a very common practice in Israel. I think just the scale is very low. If you think about, I think all the publications that are being, roughly speaking, are being published from Israel in the AI space, it's probably almost the amount of AI publications in Stanford alone.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty low bandwidth, I would say, or low capacity. And we need to increase that capacity. We need to find ways to encourage more and more fundamental research in this space.
Wow.
And so some of it by academic programs. And some of it maybe encouraging, other people from physics, people from electrical engineering, people with technical know-how to make that transition and to incentivize them, create more research groups, make sure that the leading researchers that we have that are now doing postdocs in, MIT or Stanford, they come back. Mm-hmm. They have good reasons to come back and transfer that knowledge. So I think there are many, many kind of specific ways to create those incentives, but we have to have very, very strong academic.
What about Stanford? We don't have that here. Why they go? I understand the opportunity is there abroad. Are those being built here to try to retain that talent to educate our people here?
What do you mean?
They go abroad. Some of the biggest AI talent in Israel goes, let's say, to Stanford to teach, and they do work there, and they get their learnings, their network, and they come back, God willing, right? Mm-hmm. Is there a way to keep what is missing from the infrastructure here to keep them here in the first place? That to teach our younger class?
I think part of it is the academic setting where you have a lot of almost politics in the organization, and if you want to have a research group, then there are certain thresholds and conditions.
It's not regulation.
It's not easy. Yeah. But moreover, and that's kind of the second point. So we spoke about the academic world, but relatedly, we have to have accessible, available infrastructure, accelerator, GPU. Without GPUs, you cannot conduct. If you have 0 GPUs, you have 0 research. If you have 1,000 GPUs, you can do some research. Okay, it's not the same level of some of the largest academic institutions in the US, but at least you have some capacity to conduct some research. So you have to have, to cross that threshold. And we need, as soon as possible, some footprint of infrastructure deployed. So the researchers in academia and the engineers in the industry would be able to innovate and come up with, new innovations and also new companies. That's how new companies are being created. I'll give you an example from the people are not very much aware of from the US and from Europe. In the US, the Bay Area, there are multiple funds that are doing sort of compute for equity transactions. So you have a team, a bunch of researchers, you have a cool idea, but you need the compute. The compute is extremely expensive. Some cases, it can cost you millions or even tens of millions of dollars just to validate the hypothesis. So some of the funds in the Bay Area say, you know what, I'll give you the compute because I actually bought a compute. I'll rent it to you in exchange for equity. That's a very kind of American, capitalist way to encourage. And I think it's a win-win, and it's very, very venture capitalist way. If you look at Europe, for instance, if you look at France has deployed national infrastructure, and they are providing almost like free of charge for some of their leading AI companies and some of the fresh AI new upcoming AI companies to conduct that research. That's how they incentivize new companies to be created and to create them in France. The condition is that they're not going to move back to Silicon Valley. They will make this, French companies. So I think we need to find the mechanisms, these types of mechanisms implemented here in Israel. So we'll see, more deep tech, more research being conducted here in the country.
What do you think is the way forward? I mean, come on, you're king of Israel AI. What do we do? What do you think what do you think the policy should be to make Israel a leader?
Infrastructure first. Deploy GPUs, make them accessible, make a national program, make sure it's tightly coupled with the academia and the industry, and make sure people are, I think largely about the employment and so forth, people are AI native, that they are educated about how to leverage AI in the context of work to accelerate the adoption, and because that will create the loop, the kind of flywheel between those who create the technology and those that consume it. Just have an AI strategy in place. I think it's so important.
Do we have one in place?
I don't think we have a structured strategy in place. Not yet. There is a national program, and it's a good step. Is the
Israel Innovation Authority involved?
I think they are. Yes, I think they are. So we have a national program for AI, and I think it's doing some steps in the right direction. But we need to have like a clear, cohesive strategy.
Right.
Also thinking about the global forces, and I haven't seen anything with that regard.
Well, hopefully we can change it.
Yeah.
If anything, I think Israel really needs to lead here going forward.
I agree.
Ori Goshen, you're definitely leading the way when it comes to making changes to AI, especially for enterprises globally. If you're not following up on AI21 Labs, you will be. And if you're not pursuing to learn more about them, you will, because it's just a matter of time. When AI is thrown around, so will the term AI21 Labs, especially when it comes to corporations. So we're excited to have you here. And hopefully people from the government are listening. We know a bunch of them follow our socials and subscribe to us. So maybe we can start to see big change. And it all started right here on IsraelTech. Thank you so much for being on, man.
Awesome to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's a lot of fun.